The first hybrid was born at 3:33 a.m. on a moonless night in Cairo, in a laboratory 40 stories beneath the desert sand. Dr. Ravenna Blackwood wasn't supposed to be there. She had been explicitly banned from the facility after questioning the ethics of Project Wajet. But when your illegal genetic experiment starts screeching in 20 different frequencies and shattering reinforced glass, protocol tends to go out the window. Ravenna pressed her palm against the biometric scanner, using the access code she'd stolen from Marcus Reynolds' personal database. The elevator plunged downward, each floor bringing her closer to the unholy chaos erupting below. Her tablet pinged with real-time data, heartbeat patterns that shouldn't be possible in a mammalian creature, brainwave activities that exceeded any known classification, and temperature readings that fluctuated between hypothermic and volcanic. "Override code Epsilon 79, she whispered into her comm device. "Cut power to incubation chamber Delta." Unable to comply, the AI responded in its maddeningly calm voice. "Subject Project Nephthys has achieved autonomous energy generation. All systems are now under its control." The elevator stopped at sublevel 38, 2 floors above her destination. Red emergency lights pulsed through the darkness, and the steel walls vibrated with a deep, rhythmic thrumming, like a massive heart beating beneath the earth. Ravenna's own research had warned them about this possibility. The ancient genetic sequences they discovered weren't just blueprints for creating human-animal hybrids. They were instructions for awakening something that had been deliberately locked away by a civilization far more advanced than their own. The message carved into the buried temple wall replayed in her mind. To those who would remake the gods, some chains were forged for a purpose. Some doors were sealed with the blood of millions. "Look upon our works, ye mighty," and despair. But Marcus hadn't listened. Helix Dynamics was hemorrhaging money, and their Saudi investors wanted results. When they discovered that the DNA samples from the sealed chamber beneath the Temple of Horus contained clearly engineered sequences, proof that the ancient Egyptians had possessed genetic technology far beyond modern capabilities, Marcus saw it as their salvation. Ravenna saw it as their damnation. She reached for her tablet again, fingers trembling as she pulled up the translation of the hieroglyphic texts they'd found alongside the genetic samples. She had been wrong in her initial interpretation, and that mistake might cost humanity everything. The sequences weren't instructions for creating the Egyptian gods. They were a warning about how they were originally contained. And now, in their arrogance, they had released them back into the world. A bone-rattling shriek echoed through the facility, followed by the sound of rending metal. Ravenna's tablet erupted with alerts. The containment chamber had been breached. On her screen, security camera feeds showed a massive figure emerging from the shattered remains of its artificial womb. Its form seemed to shift and flow like liquid shadow, but its eyes were fixed directly on the camera, glowing with ancient intelligence and newfound hunger. Ravenna had one chance to prevent this from spreading beyond the facility. She pulled a small metal cylinder from her lab coat, a failsafe she'd created without Marcus's knowledge. If she could reach the central ventilation system, she could release a targeted viral agent designed to unravel the engineered sequences. But first, she'd have to get past the creature that was once Project Nephthys, a being that now carried within its cells the restored genetic legacy of powers that had once ruled as gods. The emergency lights flickered and died, plunging the corridor into darkness. In the distance, claws scraped against steel, drawing closer. Ravenna activated her tablet's flashlight and began to run. Above her, unknowing Cairo slept beneath the stars, its citizens unaware that beneath their feet, humanity's forgotten past was about to collide with its present, with devastating consequences. On her tablet, a final message blinked: sequence adaptation in progress. Airborne transmission detected. Estimated time to civilian exposure, 47 minutes. The gods were rising. And this time, there might not be enough left of humanity to bury them again. The creature moved like oil through water, defying every law of physics Ravenna had ever studied. One moment, it was at the end of the corridor, a writhing mass of shadows and ancient power, and the next it was mere feet away, its form crystallizing into something that made her mind recoil. The head of a falcon, but wrong, too many eyes, too many angles that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. Its wings were composed of what looked like liquid obsidian, dripping shadows that hissed and evaporated when they hit the floor. "I remember you, little architect," it spoke, its voice a symphony of dissonant frequencies. "Your hands shaped this vessel, but my essence is far older than your species' first breath." Ravenna backed away, her grip tightening on the viral failsafe. "Your project Nephthys. A genetic experiment. Nothing more." The creature's laughter shattered the remaining lights in the corridor. "Names. Always with your names. Nephthys. Horus. Anubis. Such small words for beings that once shepherded stars." Its form rippled, and suddenly it wore the face of Marcus Reynolds, a grotesque parody of human features. "Your employer thought he could control us, contain us in flesh and blood. But we are beyond containment." The ventilation shaft was 30 meters behind her. If she could just... "The others are awakening." "Not," Marcus said, its smile stretching impossibly wide.
"Can you feel them?"
"The stirring in the deep places, the ancient codes unraveling." "Your species forgot us, buried us, but you never understood what we truly were." A distant explosion rocked the facility. Ravenna's tablet flashed with new warnings: containment breaches in chambers Alpha and Beta. Projects Horus and Anubis were loose. "What are you?" Ravenna asked, trying to keep it talking as she edged backward. The viral failsafe felt heavy in her pocket, her last hope of stopping this catastrophe. The creature's form shifted again, this time taking on aspects of something distinctly feline, yet mechanical. "We are the children of those who came before. The ones who seeded your world with life, who wrote the first codes of existence. Your ancestors called us gods because they could not comprehend our true nature. We are living keys, genetic architects programmed to reshape reality itself." Another explosion, closer this time. Through the reinforced walls, Ravenna heard something that sounded like singing, a haunting, multi-layered harmony that made her nose bleed and her vision blur. "The resonance begins," the creature purred. "Soon every human within range will feel their DNA begin to remember.
To change."
Your species was always meant to be a chrysalis, Dr. Blackwood. Did you never wonder why your genetic code contained so many dormant sequences? Ravenna felt it then, a tingling in her cells, a burning in her blood. The same sensation she'd observed in the test subjects before they evolved. Or devolved. She still wasn't sure which. She had reached the ventilation control panel. Her fingers flew over the keypad, initiating the emergency protocols. "If you're so powerful," she said, fighting the strange sensation crawling through her body, "why did the ancients manage to lock you away?" The creature's form solidified suddenly, becoming something almost beautiful in its alienness. "Because, little architect, they understood what you do not. The price of godhood is eternal hunger." And after eons of slumber, its eyes blazed with inner fire. "We are very, very hungry." Ravenna slammed her hand on the release mechanism, simultaneously crushing the viral failsafe capsule. A fine mist began to spray from the ventilation system, her carefully engineered virus, designed to target and neutralize the ancient sequences. But the creature only smiled. With a gesture, the mist froze in midair, transforming into crystalline patterns that sang with that same reality-bending harmony. "Did you think we wouldn't adapt? That we haven't been reading your thoughts, learning your science, since the moment you first touched our genetic code?" It reached out with one liquid shadow hand. "You wanted to understand the gods, Dr. Blackwood. Now you shall become one." Above them, Cairo began to scream. The transformation had begun. And somewhere in the depths of the facility, other ancient things were stirring, ready to reclaim a world that had forgotten them. The real question wasn't whether humanity would survive. The question was, would they recognize themselves when the metamorphosis was complete? Cairo was burning, but not with ordinary fire. Iridescent flames in impossible colors climbed the city's skyscrapers, transforming steel and glass into crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. From her vantage point in the underground facility, Ravenna watched through the security feeds as humanity faced its evolutionary crossroads. The changes had started slowly at first, subtle mutations that could be mistaken for hallucinations. Citizens reported seeing geometric patterns overlaid on reality, their perception shifting to accommodate dimensions that shouldn't exist. Then came the physical transformations. Children were the first to change, their young DNA more receptive to the ancient codes. Parents watched in horror as their offspring developed iridescent scales, extra limbs, or eyes that could perceive quantum probabilities. Beautiful, isn't it? The creature that had once been Project Nephthys glided beside her, its form now a mesmerizing blend of avian and feline features. The Great Awakening we were created to initiate. Ravenna's own transformation was fighting against her will, her scientist's mind documenting the changes even as her humanity slipped away. Fractal patterns bloomed across her skin, and she could feel new neural pathways forming, connecting her to what felt like a vast, ancient network. "Why fight it?" Nephthys asked. "You're becoming something greater." A new alert flashed across the monitors. Deep beneath the Arabian desert, something massive was stirring. The facility's seismic sensors were detecting movement patterns that matched no known geological phenomenon. "The sleeper awakens," Nephthys breathed, its form shimmering with excitement. "The final key." Suddenly, the facility's AI system crackled to life, but the voice that emerged wasn't its usual calm tone. It spoke in an ancient language that Ravenna somehow understood, her transformed brain translating effortlessly. Protocol Osiris initiated. Contingency measures activated. The balance must be maintained. The lights throughout the facility turned a deep, pulsing purple. In the distance, new sounds emerged, the whir of machinery that had waited millennia to serve its purpose. "No," Nephthys hissed, its form becoming more chaotic. "The Guardians." They left Guardians. The walls of the facility began to shift, revealing ancient mechanisms that had been hidden within their structure. Symbols similar to those found in the temple began to glow with their own inner light, forming complex geometric patterns that made Ravenna's enhanced vision swim. Through the security feeds, she watched as similar transformations took place across Cairo. Buildings that had seemed normal revealed themselves to be dormant technological artifacts, their true forms emerging like butterflies from chrysalises. The ancient civilization hadn't just buried their gods, they'd hidden their failsafes in plain sight, disguised as human architecture throughout the millennia. "They knew," Ravenna whispered, her transformed voice carrying harmonics that made the air shimmer. "They knew we would eventually find the sequences. This was all part of their plan." Nephthys launched itself at the nearest wall, trying to disrupt the emerging patterns, but its powers seemed to wash harmlessly over the activated systems. "What have you done, architect?" "Not me," Ravenna said, understanding flooding her transformed consciousness.
Them.
"The ones who came before. This isn't just about containing you, it's about balance. For every force of chaos, they created a force of order. For every god." She looked down at her crystalline hands, finally understanding her role. "They created a guardian." The ground shook as the sleeper in the desert rose further, but now Ravenna could sense other powers awakening to counter it. The ancient game of cosmic chess was returning to Earth, with humanity caught in the middle, transforming into both pieces and players. Through her new senses, Ravenna could feel others like her awakening across the globe, other scientists, researchers, and geneticists who had worked with the ancient sequences. They were becoming something new, not quite human, not quite God, but bridges between worlds. Guardians programmed by the ancients to maintain the balance when the gods inevitably returned. Above them, the transformed citizens of Cairo were beginning to organize into factions, their new forms reflecting deeper allegiances written into their awakened DNA. The sky filled with beings of light and shadow, each drawn to different aspects of the emerging cosmic conflict. Nephthys' form began to deteriorate, its confidence replaced by something approaching fear. "You don't understand what you're becoming part of." Ravenna stood, her transformation complete, her mind now connected to the vast network of ancient knowledge hidden within Earth's architecture. "No," she said, her voice carrying the weight of eons. "But I'm beginning to." The war for reality's future was about to begin. And humanity's evolution was just the opening move. The sky above Cairo had become a battlefield of impossibilities. Transformed humans soared through crystalline clouds, their new forms blazing with inherited power. But it was the ground war that would determine humanity's fate. The ancient failsafes had activated across the globe, turning modern cities into geometric fortresses of light and shadow, each structure revealing its true purpose in the grand design. Ravenna stood at the heart of it all, her transformed consciousness connecting with the worldwide network of awakened guardians. Through their shared awareness, she witnessed the pattern of conflict emerging across Earth: Moscow, New York, Tokyo, London, each megalopolis becoming a nexus of power as dormant technologies activated beneath their streets. "You still don't see the true game," Nephthys said, its form now barely containing the chaos within. "The guardians, the failsafes, the transformation of your species, it's all part of a cycle that has repeated countless times across countless worlds." The facility systems pulsed with ancient power as more hidden technologies revealed themselves. Through the walls, a new chamber emerged, its interior lined with what appeared to be a living metal that flowed like mercury but glowed with internal starlight. "Show me," Ravenna commanded, her guardian protocols fully activated. Her transformed DNA resonated with the chamber's technology, and suddenly the walls became transparent, revealing the truth hidden within Earth's quantum framework. Images flooded her enhanced consciousness, civilizations rising and falling across the galaxy, each one facing their moment of transcendence. Some succeeded, evolving into beings of pure energy and thought. Others collapsed, their ambitions exceeding their wisdom. Earth wasn't the first battlefield in this cosmic cycle, it was merely the latest. "The ones you call the ancients were like you once," Nephthys revealed, its form stabilizing into something both beautiful and terrible. "They seeded countless worlds with their genetic templates, creating a grand experiment in evolution. We were their instruments, designed to test each species when they reached the threshold of their potential." Through her connection to the Guardian Network, Ravenna sensed the sleeper finally emerging from beneath the desert, a being of such vast complexity that even her enhanced mind struggled to comprehend it. But as it rose, other forces stirred in response. Ancient machines hidden in Earth's core, defensive systems masked as natural phenomena, and powers that had been waiting eons for this moment. Then this isn't an invasion, Ravenna realized, the full scope of the situation becoming clear. "It's a test. A qualification exam," Nephthys corrected. "Your species has reached a crossroads. Genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, quantum manipulation, you're on the verge of powers that could reshape reality itself. The question is, are you ready for them?" The transformed citizens of Cairo had begun to organize themselves, not into chaos as Ravenna had feared, but into a new kind of order. Those who had become guardians like her were instinctively moving to protect the unchanged humans, while others were drawn to the ancient knowledge now flooding into the world. The DNA that had seemed dormant for millennia was expressing itself in ways that suggested careful design. Humanity wasn't evolving into monsters, but evolving into something that had been planned from the very beginning. "The choice was always going to be yours," Nephthys said, its form beginning to fade. "We are catalysts, nothing more. The true power lies in how your species responds to change." Through the facility sensors, Ravenna watched as similar scenes played out across the globe. Humanity was dividing, not into factions of good and evil, but into different paths of evolution. Some remained purely human, protected by the Guardians. Others transformed, their new forms reflecting the myriad possibilities encoded in their awakened DNA. And a precious few, like her, became bridges between what humanity was and what it could become. The chamber's living metal suddenly crystallized, forming a structure that hummed with possibility. Within it, Ravenna saw the next phase of the test taking shape, a chance for humanity to prove itself worthy of the legacy hidden in its genes. "What happens now?" she asked, though she was beginning to understand.
Now?
Nephthys' form had become nearly transparent, its purpose fulfilled. "Now you guide them. The Guardians maintain the balance while humanity faces its trial. Some will transcend. Some will preserve. Some will build bridges between what was and what could be. All paths are valid, if you have the wisdom to walk them correctly. As the ancient being faded from view, its final words echoed through the quantum framework of reality itself. The gods don't choose humanity's future, Dr. Blackwood. We merely open the door. What lies beyond it, that's up to you. Above ground, the transformed city had begun to stabilize. The initial chaos of awakening was giving way to purpose, as each newly evolved being found their role in the emerging order. The sleeper had settled into a crystalline mountain on the horizon, its presence a reminder of the power now available to humanity and the responsibility that came with it. Ravenna looked at her reflection in the living metal walls, at the being she had become, and made her choice. The next phase would require guidance, understanding, and most importantly, balance. Humanity's trial had only just begun. And somewhere, in the quantum spaces between reality, the Ancient Ones were watching, waiting to see if their latest creation would finally be ready to join them among the stars.